Alright guys, welcome back to our second part of factoring. And today we're going to be looking at factoring special cases. And you might want to write this down somewhere, these three cases, because they are fairly common. The big one here is going to be this one. This one, we'll also look at. And this one is nice to know, but it's not, you could do that without knowing the special case, but it might just help you become more fluent in factoring. But this first one, a squared minus b squared equals a minus b times a plus b, that is known as a difference of squares. And then here we have a cubed plus or minus b cubed equals a plus or minus b, a squared minus or plus ab plus b squared. And this is called the sum and difference of cubes. And difference of squares, difference meaning minus and then squares, a squared, b squared. Here's sum and difference because we have plus or minus, and then of cubes, a cubed and b cubed. And we'll talk about what that plus and minus mean and how it's the same on that a plus b, but then it switches on that a squared plus or minus or plus ab. We'll talk about that. And then this one, a squared, if you have a squared plus or minus 2ab plus b squared, that is the same thing as a plus or minus b, all quantity squared. And that's, we say that is a perfect square trinomial. And that comes from perfect square because we have a plus b or a minus b together squared, and then the trinomial on the left, there are three terms. So that's where that comes from. And we'll just go through some examples of these. So example 3, factor completely. Remember our difference of squares, a squared minus b squared equals a minus b, a plus b. This is the biggest one. This one you absolutely need to know and recognize. You'll get very used to using it. So this is x squared minus 64 is the same thing as 8 squared, right? And you don't always have to write this out. If you just recognize it, oh, x squared and then 64 is 8 squared, that's great. So this is our a, right? And that's our b. That's our a squared and our b squared up here. And then, so we just follow that a minus b, a plus b. So it would be x minus 8, x plus 8. Right? And that makes sense, right? If we were to expand this back out, x times x gets us x squared, and then we have minus 8x and plus 8x, right? Which would cancel out, so there's no middle term, just like here. There's no middle term with x's, and then we have minus 8 times positive 8, which is minus 64. So that makes sense. And, writing it like this might be a little more confusing than just recognizing, oh, that's, x squared minus 8 squared, right? Or that's x squared minus 64. 64 is perfect square. But I do that because this next one is a little different, right? We have 16 minus w to the fourth, and that is a difference of squares, right? We know 16, right? 16 is 4 squared. But w to the fourth, how do we deal with that? Well, w to the fourth, that is actually w squared, right? That's a law of exponents we have to remember, because if we take w squared and square that, that means times it by itself, so we get times w squared, which gives us w to the fourth, right? So this is a difference of squares, where a is 4 and b is w squared. And this is also important, right? The 16 is in front, so here we have the x in front. Here we have our variable to the right, and that does matter. So here our a is 4, so it's going to be 4 minus, and then our b is w squared, and then 4 plus w squared. And then you might say, oh, we're done here. But we're actually not done here because we have another difference of squares. If you notice, on this one, we have another difference of squares, right? So we can break that one up to, that'll be similar. That'll be 2 minus w times 2 plus w, and then 4 plus w squared, right? And 4 plus w squared doesn't break up because it's not a difference of squares, right? It doesn't have this minus up here. So since it's plus, we can't break that one up any further. But that 4 minus w squared is another difference of squares. So our answers for those two are right here. And if you were to multiply that one back out, you would check it and see that that is also correct. All right, factor completely. Remember our sum and difference of cubes, and this will be a good one to go over. So here we have y cubed plus, and then that 8 is 2 cubed, right? 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8. And that'll help us here. So our a is y and our b is 2. So we follow this. So since this a cubed, looking up here, since this a cubed plus or minus b cubed, we're going to follow that. So we have plus. So we're going to have a cubed plus b cubed equals a. And then since this plus and minus is the same orientation, we're going to follow that. So our a is y, right? Just a single y. And then plus is on top. And we have plus here, so I'm going to say plus 2. Because that's our b. 2 is our b. And that ends it there. And then we have a squared. Well, a is y, so we're going to do y squared. And then minus or plus. So since these are flipped, now we're going to do the opposite sign. So since we had plus in our original equation here, now I'm going to do minus. And then a times b is going to be 2 times y, so minus 2y. And then this ending one is always plus, and that will get us b squared is 2 squared, which is 4. And if you were to multiply all that back out, you would see that that is the answer. Now, we kind of dipped over into b there, so I'm going to rewrite it here. R cubed minus 27. Same idea here, right? We have r cubed minus, now we have a minus, 27 is 3 cubed. 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27. So now we're going to follow the same thing up here, right? Where a is our r and minus 3 is our b. So what happens is we have r, we keep the sign, and then we have r squared, and then we switch the sign on this one, and then 3 times r, and then we always add the last one, and that one is going to be 3 squared, or 9. And, you know, just to show you guys that when you multiply this out, it works, r times r is r cubed, r times 3r is plus 3r squared, r times positive 9 is plus 9r, minus 3 times r squared is minus 3r squared, minus 3 times positive 9r is minus 9r, and minus 3 times positive 9 is minus 27. And if we put that together, we get r cubed. Those cancel, minus 27, which is what we started with. So, turns out that works. And that is going to be it for today's part of factoring. We have one more to go, and that is going to be a factoring by grouping / what to do when you have a number in front of your x squared that isn't 1.